folks. We're into it here. This is a feedback episode. We know it's been a few, and so we just want to check back in, see how y'all doing, and give you an update on what we've been doing over the last couple episodes, what we thought about them, and what you guys thought about them, and just have a quick chat over the podcast medium and stay up to date with you guys.
Let me quickly turn my email off. All right.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, let's see. We got Life of an MP, Arnold Viersen. That was episode 31. Episode 32 was Grief with Rick Ludwig and Diane Van Wood Russell. We did The Church with Reverend Clarence Bauman. Then Life Renewal, Andrew and Heidi Hutton. And then also episode 35, Unmet Expectations with Sarah Hutton. And then Ty co-hosted with his wife, Kel.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting episode. Which I definitely wanted to be at, but was falsely maligned.
Oh, you want to get right into that, do you?
Yeah.
All right. I believe I said something like, Lucas didn't want to be here because he was terrified of this topic.
which
has nothing to contribute to a topic or a conversation about this.
I just thought Kelly could do a much better job than myself.
And didn't she, though?
And she did.
Yeah,
she
there you go.
So
much better.
Yes.
As Sarah so kindly pointed out.
Yes. So, anyways, I don't think I'll be coming back to the podcast.
Hey, then we dropped one that we're not covering today, I guess, but
that's
just you. So you know what?
Me and Mark.
You get your glory right back.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't we start? What are we at? 31? I can't remember.
We'll
30s
start with
already.
Arnold's there. Yeah, I know.
It's starting to look so legit when you're scrolling.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
We had Arnold Viersen on, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
About being an MP, and like we had talked about politics and stuff a little bit here and there, but hearing from his side of it was kind of cool.
Yeah, you get the first person view and what all goes on in Ottawa. And
I don't know if everyone caught that, but you worked for him for like however long, right?
Yeah, a year. Yeah, about it's got to be
driving around in northern Alberta and
5 years ago now. Yeah. So I know him. I know him pretty well, and it was good to talk to him about his work, pro-life work, anti-porn work, and anti-sex trafficking, and the good work he's doing in that regard. So that was encouraging to hear updates in that.
Yeah,
sphere of things.
Yeah, it's been a while since we heard any feedback on that one because it's been a while.
That's back in the summer, but
the one thing that we talked about afterwards, and maybe someone brought it up, was the tactics
versus principles
debate.
Yeah,
as it's become to known.
Yeah.
Basically, like, do you act as an MP or as a voter to create change based on like what's the best tactic, or do you do that based on the principle in every situation? So, like, we talked to Jonathan Van Maren like a couple episodes before that.
Yep.
And he said, well, like, if you don't have a pro-life MP, it's like that's enough to not make you vote for someone. Mm-hmm. Which it's pretty hard to make an argument otherwise. But also, Arnold said, well, the tactics, like if maybe you have an MP who's not pro-life, but they're going to do something good for some other cause, then
or
you don't have any pro-life MPs. So
in his case, he's coming from a Big Ten conservative party. Like they're looking to get elected. Obviously, that's his job. And even if you didn't particularly like your conservative MP, if you voted for them, that's a seat hopefully, and then they could form government. That's the argument on that side of things.
Which makes sense because he's part of the conservative government. Like if he believed that you can't do good work, basically you have to act principally in every situation, to your core, even to a fault, then he would be either running for CHP or independent, and he would never be getting elected. So, it's a tough.
It's always
definitely a tough debate. So,
but it's a good one to have and to continue to have too, and issue by issue as well.
Yeah, I think the one that somebody brought it up to us was about COVID. That like the tactic he took with COVID, and letting some things slide where
giving Jason Kenney some extra grace where others were not willing to do so. Yeah. So,
which we're all sick of talking about that. So,
you know what? We'll move on from there.
So that's it was a good episode. And then I had a couple people mention to me that they loved our little snippet on the outhouse race. So.
Oh yeah,
the
Nearlandia outhouse
the Nearlandia
race.
Like Olympics or whatever was going on up there. And then actually after we did that episode, I ended up almost in Nearlandia on vacation. So I got up almost to Barhead, so
almost to the promised
never
land.
quite made it to. I did make it into the promised land. So you were going to rename his whole riding, and we made it like when we drove out from Jasper to Edmonton, and we'd take a little detour north, and we saw a couple Arnold signs.
Oh yeah,
as we went. It was the election time, so it was a week before. So
that's cool.
But anyway, that's so then we did Grief, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a serious one as well. But people, I just relayed to me that they appreciated that one. It was helpful. I know personally, I learned a lot from that episode. You know, grief is a journey. Mm-hmm. The funeral and the whole initial grieving process is kind of just the start of that journey, and you're actually just opening that whole can of worms up. And there's no getting over grief. It's a lifetime thing, but you
not mostly
you learn to deal with it and to live as best you can. But they left good tips for supporting people too.
Yeah, which is really good. Like, because people deal with it in such different ways, right? Like, I mean, I probably told a little bit on that podcast, like how I deal with grief a little bit, whatever, but just not the same as everybody else. So, and to have insight into like how people could be dealing with it, and then like having the tools to kind of recognize that people are dealing with it, and not just like the immediate family or like the husband or wife or kid or whatever, but the whole extended family at the funeral, and so people don't get missed or fall through the cracks, and so yeah, I think in general, like, we do a fairly decent job in our communities of like supporting people who've lost loved ones, but it's definitely good to think about it personally and like imagine how it would be, and
it made me appreciate just the work they do, how important it is.
Yeah, I didn't know like tons, like obviously with my mom's passing, like we did know a little bit, like, but yeah, it was kind of pretty limited, the interaction I had with them. Obviously it was helpful, and they kind of walk you through everything, but definitely didn't know like to the extent they get into some situations and stuff. So yeah, really cool to know.
Yeah, like as far as feedback went on that episode, was a lot of people just very positive, saying they appreciated it. It was good to hear from Rick and Diane.
Of course, we're not going to tell you if there was negative feedback.
We did get. There was one question on YouTube there about Sunday visitations. So I mean, I'm not sure if that's a common practice or not. I could be honest.
I haven't heard of it. I don't know
if it's basically the question is it is it a wise thing to do, or is it in line with God's word to do visitations on Sunday? Because you could conceivably do it a different day, and you're making the funeral directors work. I could see that argument. I could also say that you could see the other side of things too, where Sunday's a great time to gather with God's people, and especially if you're going through a tough time.
Yeah, especially if you don't have family, like you're not gonna. I don't know. I think I mentioned to you too, like just if you had like a Sunday wedding, like weddings are very much a church event too, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we announce it in traditionally, like we invite people to weddings and they come to the wedding to witness the wedding.
Yep.
But we announce it in church because that's part of, I could do an episode on that, the whole marriage thing. But part of that is like the community in the church is involved in that.
It's sort of an approval thing, or like we'll be there to support.
It's part
you
of the
too.
bands. That's like it's actually an interesting thing with overstep of the government too, which is a whole other can of worms. But yeah, like like weddings are from the church; they're not from the government, and we view them much more as from the government now than we do from the church.
Yep.
But yeah, so in the same way, like if you had a wedding on a Sunday, it's not super common in our circles, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And then the church, like everyone, a member of your congregation, get to be part of that. And you could, like, I know that there's situations where they made that part of the service.
Yep.
And while it's not part of our liturgy, or it's not a sacrament or something like that.
Yep.
I think it's something good that a Christian community can
for
share.
sure.
And so, to say like you can't have a funeral on a Sunday, well, maybe, but yeah, also like, can you do a wedding on a Sunday? And are you making the minister work extra hard? Because
I would say you could, in my opinion. I
So,
could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's two sides to it, but we never heard back from them on it. So we'll if we
if we get an answer,
we'll get an answer. We'll
We'll let
put
you
it
know.
on our next one.
Okay. So that was 32. 33.
Yeah, 33 was the church.
The church, yes. Rib and Bowen. Yeah, that was a pretty popular episode. A lot of people liked that. A lot of people tuned in.
Well, that's good because it was one of the ones that we wanted to do like from the beginning of starting this thing. So
it's true.
Not necessarily with Reverend Bauman, but definitely that was one of the topics that I thought was something that I was curious about. And definitely something that we've seen, like the church shopping thing, and we talked about authority too and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then the true church. How do you find a true church? So
yeah, he laid down a good distinction there, right? Like he used the example of money. So we have money, and then you have counterfeit money. So when we talk about the church, there is the church, and then there is, the church that's not the false church. Yeah.
The counterfeit church.
Yeah. So you don't have to say true church. You just the church. And then in the church, you have pure and less pure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was quite helpful because you can get into you get yourself in some weird debates if you go with the true false divide.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously the whole conversation didn't solve the whole, what denominations are, the church and what ones are not. But maybe not a solvable issue, but definitely shed some light on like how to think of the church. And then we talked about church shopping a bunch. I think you pushed him pretty hard on that, which I think was good. I heard positive feedback on, basically how hard we were on him.
Yeah, people liked.
Even though we,
I didn't think it was
ended
hard.
up agreeing. No, it wasn't like a.
I just wanted to know. I was trying to get an answer there, but.
And like the church shopping thing. Like, are we looking for what we're looking for because we think it's best for us, or do we realize where we're called to be, or should be? And I think he shed some light on it, like. What things you should consider are when you're thinking about moving or when you're thinking about, where you're going to be in your life, and also how God leads, like how he led him, like, from church to church, and, that God is working way before you even start thinking about moving.
Yep.
He's kind of leading you in a direction that you don't even know. So definitely helpful. So,
yeah. The other thing too that I pulled out of that episode is that he did agree with me
after about several pounds
after I was extracting some pounds of flesh, but I did get an answer on who has authority, and ultimately in the church, the consistory has the authority.
Yeah.
Now, of course, take into consideration what the government says and make a responsible decision and yada yada yada. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they are tasked with shepherding the flock, and they have the authority.
Actually, that could be an interesting episode too, because the authority, you said it lies with the consistory. I actually recently had a conversation with a few people who they were talking about. Well, are the deacons part of that?
Oh, I've had the same conversation
because we talked about it with Art Whitten too in the church order,
right.
And sometimes the deacons are it's the consistory with the deacons. That's how they put it. We call it council, but is the council the ruling body of the church, and is the consistory the ruling body of the church? And so like it seems like the divide now is like anything that has to do with like the running of the services is council.
Yeah.
The church, like the church budget, and I would say like church matters, like your are we building a new building? Are we our capacity limits?
Are we expanding somewhere?
Doing COVID this and that, or are we? Yeah. So all that stuff falls under consistory, or under council.
Yeah, everybody.
Even all the programs you run, like
outreach stuff.
If you're running outreach stuff, or mission initiatives or whatever.
Yep.
But then the spiritual
discipline,
just the spiritual things land in consistory.
Yep.
And then the deacons obviously their own thing.
Yep.
So, but it's an interesting conversation too. We could probably have at some point.
I think the deacon should be involved too. But that'd be
well, it depends on that's how you read like, what the deacon's role is in the Bible.
Yeah. Well, they're called to minister to and to care for the people under their care, and part of that is spiritual care too, which is also the role of the elders. Well, the deacons aren't just money exchangers. Like there's a lot more to that role.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like
caring and making sure people are being well cared for beyond their financial needs.
From the elders' point of view, you can't. It's hard to care for people if you're only checking in on their spiritual life. You got to have a fulsome relationship.
You do work closely together, like
at
least in my experience. But I mean, it's also where does the authority actually lie from like that standpoint? We were talking about COVID, and like who has the authority to like open the service and call. Like, to me, it's not. Yeah, the case can be made. It's not the council that calls. Yeah. It's the consistory that calls the congregation to worship. So right now we have a situation where you kind of like the council talks about whether or not the church is open, and then consistory kind of tells the consistory what to do in terms of calling the congregation or not, which is kind of, I don't know, maybe that's not quite right, but that seems to be how
that's a good episode. We should get some clarity on that.
No, if you have a guest idea,
all right.
Some people
let us know.
Yeah.
So anyways, thanks Reverend Bauman.
We could have Art Witten back on for that.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. And Reverend Bauman. We'll have them. They can come.
Definitely.
All right. And then we did Life Renewal, which was kind of not a surprise episode, but we had planned to do Sarah Hutton's, because Unmet Expectations, the book, dropped, I think, 2 weeks before. We actually planned to drop Sarah's that week, and instead, Life Renewal was just getting going in their season.
Yeah.
And so we thought we would squeeze Andrew and Heidi in there.
Yep.
Plus, Andrew and Heidi are related to Sarah. So they're siblings, so I think they kind of...
they made it work.
We worked that out.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So yeah, we got Andrew and Heidi in there. Hopefully people... I heard a lot of people loved it. Hopefully some people heard it and then, signed up.
Yeah. It was opening. It was an eye-opening discussion.
Yeah, we were meaning to do that one for a while too, right?
Yeah, to learn about Life Renewal and all the good work they're doing, and changing hearts and minds and relationships, and I think helping people to grow deeper in their faith and deeper in their relationships, between spouses and also church members too, right? Like having, like they mentioned, like you can tell, after church if there's people talking about the weather, about last night's game or something, or work or something. And then you have people talking about meaningful issues, and they've probably been to Life Renewal.
Yeah. It was super honest and like super. It wasn't a hard one to do for us, I wouldn't say, but it was definitely it was a conversation that was beyond just thinking about what was on our outline. I think that was the case.
Yep.
It wasn't like, okay, what kind of questions are we asking next? It was like,
well, they shared some powerful personal stories too.
Yeah, personal stories, and it makes you think, and it makes you like, really. I mean, we might ask the same question over and over. I don't know, but we got lots of answers out of them for what the program's like, and like what to expect, and what you should be going in with, like the expectations you should have going in, and the kind of the mindset you should have going in. Yeah,
it's a big commitment, but they're very
and like
having confidentiality is very much a high value for them, and they want to make it a safe place to share your story and to learn and to be vulnerable. So
so it was really eye opening for sure. And I can definitely see myself going through it at some point, because
I'd like to as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. There was all sorts of good stuff in there, but maybe we can let that one be.
Sure.
It's just it is what it is. Go sign up for Life Renewal.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Sounds like an amazing program.
It's good stuff. And then we got Sarah's Unmet Expectations.
Yeah.
So that was interesting for me listening to it.
What were your impressions?
I enjoyed it. I thought she, I having not read the book actually, so just listening to the podcast, I thought she was it was a powerful story as well. Hearing about her struggles, and I mean, obviously, I'm a 23-year-old guy. Like, it was definitely eye-opening for me too. Like, just whatever the challenges you can possibly expect to face in marriage and trying to have a kid and all that. So, I didn't know that. I just thought, I'm sure some people go through that, but it seems like it's more widespread than I initially thought. So maybe I'm just the dumb young kid on this end of the podcast. But I mean, maybe more people my age or whatever in the same boat just didn't know. I mean, did you know prior to getting married? Probably not.
No.
Yeah,
not really. Like, you kind of have an idea, right? But you don't.
It's never something you
don't know how prevalent it is, right? And then, like what she said that in the podcast. Like, you kind of look to your family,
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Like you don't. It's not like you have a whole bunch of uncles and aunts like
They have like one kid or
who
no
don't
kids.
have kids
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And even if you do, you're like, well, my parents had 4 kids or 10 kids, whatever.
Oh, I know.
You're like, that's probably fine. And
Yeah.
my wife's family or my husband's family, you're like, oh, a big family,
Yeah.
probably just do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know how prevalent it is, like as in terms of a statistic, but it definitely seems to be more. Maybe it's because I'm older too, but like it definitely seems to be more and more prevalent than it.
Yeah.
Maybe it used to be prevalent. It just wasn't talked about, but it
That's
definitely
awesome.
seems to be a thing that at least I come across it a lot more. So
Yeah, you're definitely in the age bracket where that would come up a whole bunch. But
yeah,
interesting.
But it always seems to be like, oh yeah, like oh man, I didn't know that.
So-and-so
that
was-
so and so was having trouble or whatever. Like, so yeah, and like yeah, I mean, Kel and I kind of told our story a little bit too, and like it's in our story by no means like harrowing. It's like probably the best case scenario if
you
you're
had to
going
go
to
through
face anything like that. So, which we're obviously extremely thankful for, and like Sarah's is, near the other end of that. So,
Yep.
I think it was even probably hard for her to hear our end of it. She was probably like rolling her eyes, thinking like, "Yeah, you have it easy. What do you think?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least she can relate a little bit. So, yeah, the fertility. Yeah, there were a few things that we talked about, like fertility treatments and like the ethics around that and stuff like that. She didn't. Yeah, her focus was like more on like the story and like
The experience of it.
yeah, the experience of it, her story, and then like how we can better understand, people going through it, and then like how we can open up the conversation to people.
Yeah, and prepare yourself for it.
Prepare the community.
Yeah.
How can we best support? So she didn't really get into like the nitty gritty of like maybe the ethics of fertility treatments, or like what do you do if you can't have kids? Like what does the adoption road look like, or
Yep.
is that like that whole consideration? I mean, that's just like that's something that like early on you start thinking about in the back of your head, but you can't even like wrap your head around what that all would entail. So you could write a whole separate book on that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, we could probably do another podcast on fertility
IVF
treatment
and
ethics and stuff, and
Yeah.
and what that like, yeah, because you get into some like pretty intrusive measures,
Sure. Yeah.
and then
Well, if the issue is as prevalent as it is, then I'm sure there's a good chunk of people struggling with making those decisions, right?
what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would actually be good to talk about adoption too, and non-biological family.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's definitely something that people go through too, and something I probably would be in your seat talking about. Like, I don't know, but definitely something that I'd be curious to talk about.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. No, I think it was fun to have Kel on too.
Yeah.
We had planned that episode. Sarah actually reached out to us when she knew her book was going to be released, and I loved the idea, and like she actually sent us a copy ahead of time, and so Kel, we knew that she was going to come on for I don't know 2-3 months, so she was pretty nervous about that, like going in.
Well, she was a natural, yeah.
But
she
yeah,
crushed
no,
it.
she's
Good.
great. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the only other thing in there was like the cultural pressure thing that I think we brought that up at the end with her.
Oh
like,
yeah, true. That's
if
good
you
to bring
like
up.
if you encourage young people to kind of check their expectations about having kids, like expectations, sure, but like check your hopes and your dream family. Like you kind of get pretty quickly to a point where people, especially young girls, like women, are going to start thinking, well, let me not look forward to that because it could not happen.
I want this many kids, this many boys,
And like
girls.
instead, I'm gonna be let me just look at like I'll be a nurse, like forget the family thing, and because the pressure from the world's like definitely going that way, right?
You need to she was saying you need to balance it between, okay, on the one hand, kids are a beautiful blessing from the Lord, and it's a very good thing, and you should strive to have them, but also expect that you could face challenges, and it could be quite difficult, and it could be a long road. So kids are not the end all be all, as much of a blessing as they can be.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get caught up in it, but also be thankful that you have kids or could get kids.
Yeah.
And then don't let but also don't flip to the worldly side of things where it's like kids are not a blessing and kids are a big pain to have around, and you should just buy a dog or get some plants and,
get some plants.
Whatever. Oh yeah, that's what people do, and then
start
just
your jungle, and
travel.
Your family.
Yeah, both work, and just travel. And,
yeah. So, that was definitely it was a good topic to cover, and hopefully, we heard from a few, especially younger women, who found it fairly helpful. So, hopefully that continues, and maybe if people are interested in that, like, you can go check her out on Instagram. I think the link was in
Echoes of My Heart.
Echoes of My Heart.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's like room for. I thought Sarah would have plans for a support group or something. I'm sure there'll be something like that soon. Yeah. Because it's kind of where you go for sure. Like to get together with other women or to chat with other women who are. Mm-hmm. I told her she's going to get phone calls off the hook, but she, like it's good to talk to other people.
Definitely
get that support, right? So, and even for men too. But
for sure. Okay, well, that kind of hits the cap on it for now.
What's our other plans? Maybe that's another thing for these episodes.
Yeah, we got one coming up. Actually, my dad's coming on the pod. We're going to talk about Clarion magazine,
which is going to be great.
Yeah,
we're going to take two sides of it. RP versus Clarion.
Oh, it's not. I don't think it's a versus situation, but
okay.
We'll get some clarity on what they're doing over there, what their plans are to kind of revamp the magazine and freshen it up, and we can talk about the purposes of the various magazines and the different roles they play. And
we're getting your dad on, and we're not talking about the Psalms.
Oh, we could throw the Psalms. We'll probably have a plug for the Psalms book in there too. He's he's got a devotional if you're interested. A lot of people have bought it already, and I think it's a 4-volume commentary set as well.
I don't have the commentary set yet.
Get the commentary set, man. You can go deep dive into the Psalms.
There you go.
Start teaching your
dad to bring a copy.
Yeah. Maybe do that.
Yeah, no, that'll be good. We got to get some more on the docket. So if people have ideas for episodes, send them in too, because
we got a bunch.
We're not running low, but we
we got a lot of ideas. Just got to book them in.
We got to book them in.
So we
did a big old spell where we did a whole bunch, and now
we'll do it again.
We're gonna get back to recording. So
perfect. All right. Well,
beautiful.
Thanks, folks, for letting us do this feedback episode. Hopefully, it wasn't too rambly. We just wanted to
probably was
give you an update, check back in, and very thankful for our new podcast manager. She's been amazing.
Yeah, to have her it's been great. We're no longer editing everything ourselves.
A lot more
our Instagram got way more Instagrammy.
You'll have noticed that. I mean, if you're listening to this point in the podcast,
and if you think there's any weaknesses, I'm sure it's us. We're not taking as many pictures of our guests.
Yeah, that's
on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Mariah has been great, and it's been really nice having someone edit our stuff. So So if you're interacting with us on our email or Facebook or Instagram, she's probably getting in touch with you and
letting us know,
shooting it over our way. So
all right, folks, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much.
Catch you next time. Keep having real talk.
Beautiful.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch the show. If you want to send us your feedback, and we'd love to hear it, please email us at reformedrealtalk@gmail.com. If you want to find us online or social media, we got a lot of great content there. Just search Reformed Real Talk and we should come right up. This show is created and produced by myself, Lucas Holtfluer, and Tyler Vanderwood, and our wonderful podcast manager who does all the editing is Mariah Tamiga. So we're really thankful for her contribution to the show as well. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching or listening, and we'll catch you next time.